I just knew that things were getting worse and worse, and I thought maybe the only way out was taking my life.
Well, every night he would talk about killing himself. That scared me to death, and I felt the real burden of taking care of the young, and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it at all.
And I was sitting in the lounge at the seminary one day talking to a classmate of mine. I said, I don't even understand what's going on. I don't understand what the Lord is doing. He said, well, I know. He said, you're killing your wife and you don't even know it. She hates everything you're doing. And your children hate what you're doing. They hate your study and they hate your books. And I said, Gordon, what do I do? He said, you need to get out of school. So we left in December of '78 and went back to our hometown to pastor this little church.
I became bitter toward God, and my reaction to Jim and to the children was of anger.
But the depression was growing, and I was really contemplating suicide by this time, but I was so depressed, it was just horrible. I thought, I have nothing to give these people, nothing.
And I would try to encourage him, but nothing helped.
I picked up my Bible, read a verse, it was Romans 5:8. God proves his love toward us, and that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. I got up pulpit the next morning. It was the shortest sermon I've ever preached. Folks, when you realize that you're under the condemnation of God, and your lifestyle doesn't match your profession of a relationship with God, you think you're worthless before God, and other people are saying the same thing. Where will you find your hope? And I gave the answer, Romans 5:8. God proves his love toward us. While we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Our hope is that Christ died for sinners. That was really the turning point where things started out, but it took me years to get out of it. And the Lord took us to Memphis in 1982 to start teaching. For 3 years, I taught the book of Romans. And in the middle of that 3-year period, I began to believe it. I suddenly realized, oh my goodness, when God speaks, his word creates new reality. And I thought, oh dear me. And I thought, God has declared that I have right relationship with himself. If that's the case, this is not a legal fiction. This is a reality. And suddenly, all the depression left. And for 2 years, I lived without depression. It was the longest time I had lived without depression in my life that I could remember.
When times are dark, don't run away from the problems, but do what James says, persevere, and God will finish the work he has planned for you and make it complete.
People come to me and ask, I feel so guilty, and I don't know how to deal with my guilt. But the scripture says that God cleanses our conscience from dead works to serve the living God. And you're going to have to decide at some point, whether now or later, you're going to have to decide, am I going to trust the power of my sin in my life, or am I going to trust the power of Christ's blood to cleanse from sin? That's the decision you have to make. And that's the next step. What you must do is learn to trust the promises of God and the power of Christ to cleanse you from sin. And that will be enough.